go live, go live, go live, go live. Hey guys, I am so sorry for the delays. You know, I've been having issues today, but I didn't want to like completely bail out the stream. I didn't want to completely bail on the stream. So we're here. Hi. And how's everybody doing? How are we doing? Are we having a good night? Can you hear me? Can you see me? Can you see us? Hey y'all. My wife has been very sick, and I was kind of waiting around for somebody to stop by. Actually, a former aquarium co-op employee who's has to move. She's getting rid of some fish. And so she came and dropped those off, and we chatted for a little bit. But beyond that, you know, I've just been taking care of my wife. So if you hear her cough, I mean, I can't do anything for her. I feel terrible. But that's what's going on. If you hear coughing, that's her in the other room. And I just feel so bad. She's so sick. Luckily, so far, I'm okay. Not sick yet. But the cat is on the keyboard. Hold on. Get off the keyboard. I have to have treats ready, or the cat is gonna ruin everything. Yeah, drink honey. She's got. I mean, there's literally like a pile of honey and ginger ale and fizzy water and, you know, everything that you could think of in that vein. But yeah, I mean, it started as her just having like a bit of a cough, and now it's like crackly, and like we went to the doctor already. Yeah, the kitty has trained me, that is for sure. The kitty has trained me. So anyways, I just don't want her to chew on the cords on the back of the computer, which she only does when it's a live stream. And yeah, you can see the new fish. I'll grab them one sec. They're old fish, but they're new fish, if you know what I mean. They're actually a fish that I wanted forever, and just by total dumb coincidence or chance, whatever you want to call it, dumb luck, I actually inherited these two. It's a male and a female Hikari Danios. And Hikari Danios, or Divario Hikari, are they Divario or are they Brachy Divario? I don't remember for sure. But they are the only Danio where the males and females are like noticeably from a distance way different looking. Like the males have yellow, or the females have yellow, and the males have blue color on them, which is pretty cool. And they thought they were two different species for over 20 years. They were named like basically the place name and then like species ? And then finally, I don't know why it took so long, but they figured out, oh wow, it's a Danio and this other Danio. And they kind of split up by gender sometimes and like hang out in groups by gender, but they're the same species. It's just that's very not common for a Danio. So I'll show you what those look like. And then I believe she put a couple Tin Winnie Danios in there, some gold ring Danios, or one, or I don't know. So let's have a look. She literally just dropped them off. So I will go grab them. But that's one where I could find the yellow version called Hikari Danio, or I could find the blue version that was for a while called the Ontron Danio, and then they called it the Blue Hikari because the Hikari company paid for the expedition to go find them in Myanmar. So let me get them and I'll show you guys. All right, how are we doing, everybody? In my headphone, I can hear everything crinkling, like the bag. I hope it's not being that sensitive. I don't know, that headphone's been acting up. It may have something to do with cat hair. Dory, no, my leg's not okay. And yeah, that's the crutch you see for sure. Hold on, I'll explain. Oh, okay. She gave me her, or he. Sorry, guys. I'm looking at the looking at the fish, looking at a female guppy, and so I got some of these guppies from him, and then I got these. So there's a tin Winnie Daniel in here, and then the larger Hikari Danios, which they look. You can see the one with the blue is face is in the middle, and the other one has yellow. See the orange and the kind of blue stripe. I'm sure they're stressed as all get out right now. Whereas the other one has the orange, and it actually will be more yellow in the body. Whereas the one that's right in the middle, that's the male. So pretty cool. And they can withstand fairly cold temperatures because they live in the high mountains of Myanmar, Thailand border region, kind of on the Shan and Wa section of the border there. They're not in the giant Daniel family, but they are larger Daniels, but they're very peaceful. So they're not like pearl or what do you call them? Zebra Danios or leopard Danios or the you know, all the different Danios that are larger like that. The giant Danio and there's the other one that's called like something trout Danio, and I can't remember what it is. But yeah, yeah. The best thing about fish is they don't shed hair. That is one of the good ones. So I'm not supposed to stand on my leg, on my right leg whatsoever. And here, I'll try to. I've got the camera here, but I'll show you guys what's up. It's not gross or anything, but so basically, I have the whole thing wrapped, and it's wrapped, and then I got a sock over it, and then a little flip flop on it, just so that I don't step on anything like a Lego or whatever. But this thing actually is kind of cool in that I have like a little plunger here that I can push, and then push it down. And when it's down and like this in the green, that means that it is on the bottom of my heel where I have that puncture wound still. It is pulling the air or rather the pressure out of the wound area, and so that the tissue actually kind of comes down like in a pressure cooker, and then they put air in it. Like when they do it, like they make sure that there's pure air in the seal when they're sealing the wound. So basically it is putting good quality oxygen into the tissue that's called granulated tissue or granulation tissue. And then it also can act as a drain if that ends up causing any like clear fluid. I mean, I guess it could be blood or whatever in some cases, but yeah. And so then we put that, just strap it to my leg, and if it starts to lose pressure, I just like pump that up, and then like make sure the bottom of my foot, like try to push on it, make sure it's sealed, and then they redo it every week. But the craziest part of all this is that this, undo the thing. So this little piece here, this little plastic piece of junk that, I mean, granted, it's kind of clever. No electronics in it, no lights, no batteries. It's just a pump, and literally the plunger slides out like it's a piece of junk, like it's cheap Chinese crap. And this is almost $2,000 that they charge insurance for it. But insurance doesn't want to cover it. So a lot of people end up paying almost $700 for this. And they change it out every 3 days is their hope, but every week is the more like common thing that happens. I guarantee you guys that plastic thing, if it didn't have a patent on it, it would be, I don't know, $12 or something. Not even. So the fact that they charge almost $2,000 for each kit that they have to rewrap, and they charge you for it's literally like a super glue, a latex thing that they put over the wound, and then they put literally the airline tubing is not even anything medical like special. It is fish vinyl airline tubing, same gauge and everything. It's such a scam. Anyways, I'm done talking about that. I just needed to vent. But how are we doing tonight, you guys? Am I going to acclimate the new fish? Yeah. I'm gonna let them just hang out room temperature because they were in an unheated tank. So I'm gonna let them hang out in here, and it's actually about 72, 73 in here because we got the new furnace and we've been kind of living on the warm side lately, even though it's cold outside. But then I'm going to put those fish probably just in the newest of the tanks, and allow them to live with all the other, with the kyphet danios and the panda loaches and all those little guys and the little shrimp and stuff. They might eat some of the shrimp, but whatever. They probably won't eat the adult ones. Ever feel like we're living in an upside down world? Feel like it should be more and more each day. When I heard a piece of plastic goes for $2,000, yeah, no, I know. It's wild. And then the other thing is, like, I looked at what insurance. I have to put all these creams on when they wrap it, okay, and the other leg for like swollen skin or whatever. Anyways, doesn't matter. But they make a product that is all three put together, but they want $900 for the patent. I looked it up, and they gave me 3 tubes, and I'm like, why am I getting 3 tubes instead of the one thing the doctor wrote? And they're like, oh, well, it's the same stuff. And so I look at it, and literally, if you buy the patented version of this that has all 3 of these together, it's anywhere between $600 and $900. These are the bigger tubes, so these would be $900 total. About $250 to $350 each, depending on what you know. But when they're separate, they're $8, and I think this one was 15, and this one was like 6 or something ridiculous. It's so okay. I said I was done, but yeah. All right. So yeah, and then also that's why the crutches are here, because I'm not supposed to put weight on it. So I've been trying to be better about not putting any weight on it. We were talking about America's corrupt pharmaceutical insurance and medical industry, but now we are done with that. Sorry, that took up too much. That was 10 minutes of our community time, and that's not what I meant to do. But what is going on, guys? What would you like to see from me? Dory, Bailey, you've been binging my videos lately. Well, I appreciate that. You have a question about Daphnia. Okay. Does it appear in stagnant water by itself? So no, yes, no, it doesn't appear out of nowhere. But if you are anywhere from the Arctic Circle south, basically, it is indigenous, or some species of it will be, to your area, and it will find its way through the wind, through little seeds and they're called cysts, but suspended animation, little eggs basically. And with Daphnia, there's 2 ways. I have a video on them, but with Daphnia, there's 2 ways where the mother can carry a baby load on her back, and they're clones of her. And she can be frozen in ice or in the ground. She can like go into what's called a true hibernation. And she can be in there, not breathing, not moving, not doing anything for up to, I think it was 18 years. You'll have to watch the video. There's the more common average is more like 6 or 7 years, but there are some Arctic species that are like can survive a really long time frozen. And then there are the sexually reproduced individuals, which when the male and female get together, they end up in the female, and they're much smaller. They don't have like a fat layer and like a shell, like an egg shell around the babies like the clone ones do. And the clone ones develop in her back. The other ones, depending on the species, either develop in like a little sac that she has on her belly or in her back too, but in a sac. And then she like gives birth to the like container of seeds. And then it sits there, and if it's wet, it either dissolves and the seeds then fall around, or it sits somewhere and waits. And then like when the puddle dries up, the wind blows it around, and those little babies get scattered, and it's not until they're submerged for at least 24 hours underwater that they hatch, and they grow up and they can reproduce within a week. So as long as there's water there for a week, they can have a viable place to live. That being said, they end up getting eaten by birds and on berries, and I mean they end up everywhere. It's crazy that, and like the spores, and just like our beneficial bacteria, just like planaria or hydra or the things that show up in our tanks, those, and also cyclops are another one that like those and isopods, or not, sorry, not the isopods, the seed shrimp. Those show up like no one business. Like you probably have some on your clothing. Like it's crazy where they're at. They're everywhere. But yeah. Anyways, so yeah, that's where they come from. So they show up a lot. Johnny Best says that's why I never pay my hospital bills. F them. Yeah. Honestly, at this point, I'm paying like $190 a month is like what I agreed to pay, and now it's gone up again. Like they just sent me another $3,000 on top of that, so like it just keep going up, obviously. But if I think at 190, if I just pay that forever, which is still not like cheap out of pocket, they can't do anything to me as long as I'm paying like what I can, which that's all I can pay. I mean, you guys can't squeeze blood out of a rock, you guys. So, anyways, let's see here. Have you heard about the Eheim customer service black hole? No, I haven't, but I will investigate. That sounds interesting. And hey, what's going on? Brush it off. Let me put this on screen. Good day. Good day, my friend. Good to see you. Got a crook female bristle nose, pale front half, 2 white spots on one side. All the other plecos and guppies are okay. Water changes. Any advice? Don't like meds. Yeah, I mean, honestly, if there's nothing wrong with them other than like just a spinal deformation or something, that's not the end of the world. A lot of fish form that way due to nutrient issues or parasitic issues when they're juveniles. Also, stress and also UV light are all things that control the stem cells in eggs that when they're developing. And they found in guppies and things that like a lot of the saddleback spines or the bent spines, if it's not caused by a bloated stomach, which is a common cause of it in female guppies from like prolapse from too many babies and things, and they live through that, then a lot of times the other cause of that is a lot of times genetic and or from malnutrition issues. And they discovered that like vitamin D and the production of that from light is really important, apparently, or yeah. So anyways, I would say, keep an eye on the fish, make sure it's getting enough food, make sure that like if it's slower than the others or a little more timid because it is injured, sometimes they overcompensate and you'll have a fish that's got some physical ailment that would normally you'd assume would make it like really dysfunctional, and it will like crowd its way in and overcompensate and do great. But a lot of times the opposite happens, which is the common thing. And, you need to help it along a little bit. And that is definitely what, I would make sure you got like algae wafers or maybe some, blanched or boiled or broiled zucchini, cucumbers, green beans, any of that kind of stuff they love, pumpkin, and or any sort of spirulina wafers. That's all great stuff for them. They don't need wood. That's like a myth. A lot of people think they need to rasp on wood, and they don't. It may have some probiotic additive or bacteria or something on it in the wild, but probably not in our aquarium. We've found now definitively they've done a lot of research on like 600 and some species of plecos now. None have been found to be able to digest or process in any way the cellulose or the lignin in plants. So what they're doing is they're eating the protein. And so things like spirulina, like cyanobacteria and algae that are healthy, that's really what they want. They want those biofilm proteins and things like that. So also algae covered rocks and stones in the tank is a good thing. Probably keeping the tank a little more oxygenated might help, just to help ease that breathing, because plecos tend to live in warm water, and tropical fish in general is warm water. But anything like 26 Celsius or up, definitely having an air stone or a hang off the back filter is a good idea, unless it's a fish that's evolved like a betta or something to deal with that. But apart from those things, providing it a nice cave or a place to hide away and not get picked on, and like a shady little corner, there isn't too much to do. I mean, maybe tannins would be beneficial in the sense that some leaf litter, they like to dig in that, they feel comfortable. But that's really all you can do, and just hope it does okay. All right, Barbara Jackson, how thick is too thick for a substrate? I've got 4 to 5 inches of sand, plant, soil, gravel mix. Is there a point where it can be too much weight on the glass? That is a really good question. I've kept up to 7 inches of substrate in aquariums before. Actually, up to 9. That's not going to be the issue. Now, if you had some really heavy rock like lead ore or something like that, maybe there'd be another issue. But water itself is pretty darn dense. It's like heavier than just dirt, and it's right up there with like sand. It's 8.5 pounds a gallon. And so your tank is already a pretty sturdy thing when it's even pressure. So I would say your substrate, unless you got rocks or like chunks that are pushing on the glass in a pressure point, you don't really need to worry about that. Now, what you might want to worry about is like, what's the point of having, a tank that's however deep if you've only now got a shallow tank because, you filled it in with stuff. So a lot of people use like a fatherfish or Wallstead method, and they just keep adding layers of substrate when they want to add new nutrients. And, ideally nutrients should grow, but it should grow, or substrate and mulm should like grow as a layer, but it should grow pretty slowly, really, because you should have layers growing and being eaten and depleted. So the plants should be the thing you're cutting. You should be cutting the plants, and thereby their roots are eating that mulm and that mass, that carbon, that organic material. And then, same with all the little copepods, isopods, little worms, planaria, whatever is down in the substrate, depending on the kind of tank you have, that will of course die, and those have quick life cycles. So those are living and dying, living and dying. Your fish are eating them, your fish are having waste, your fish are eating food, that's going down. So that layer, if it's building up quickly, you're probably actually putting too much into the tank, and you don't have a decomposing element or a cleanup crew or a community type crew of shrimp, snails, worms, whatever it may be that you want to use. And that's when you go gravel vac. And yes, you're gravel vacuuming up potential nutrients for the future, but at a certain point you got to balance, like, how much do I want this substrate to grow versus how much quality am I getting? And I want to do a study where we really look and see how good of a substrate is mulm. Like, granted, I've seen the results, I see what plants do in there, they seem to do well, but I can't grow like pro grade, like aquascape grade stem plants, for instance, like chai, Ludwigia chai, or Florida, Rotala Florida Rosavig, Ramosior. Wouldn't be able to grow things like that out of just mulm, really. So I am curious, how much of it needs to be organic, how much of it needs to be sitting there for literally decades like it does in the wild. And some of it in the wild is washed in from in the air. We have phosphates all the time. Dust from Africa makes it all the way over to North America, South America, and then falls. Every raindrop has a speck of dust or dirt or sand or something at the center, because water has to have something to nucleate around, and it won't nucleate without some little speck of something. And so a lot of it is dust that has phosphates in it. That's how the Amazon rainforest replenishes the phosphates the plants need. And literally every year, the plants have evolved so perfectly over the last 10 million, 20 million years that there's been this current coming from the Sahara of the dry dust, which is old lake and ocean beds that are dried out. There's salt beds and things, but then all that phosphate that was in those oceanic bottom layers is now exposed, and it's getting blown and stuff. Same thing goes on the Gobi Desert and then heads to Europe. Also, it can go the other way. Same with the African stuff. It can go down also. It doesn't usually go over towards the Middle East. But yeah, it's very fascinating where all that comes from. But yeah, that's, I mean, if your plants are doing well and you've still got room, I wouldn't sweat the substrate problem at the end of the day. Fishery recommendations for an indoor Tupperware. Honestly, do whatever you like, whatever looks good. Then fit your hardware around that, whether it's a hang off the back, whether it's a little pump with just an image of that goofy kid that raps, little pump. But whatever, however you want to move the water, aerate the tank, if that's what you want to do. You could also have fish like gouramis or Medaka rice fish, or whatever it is. There's a lot of fish out there that don't need heating, that don't need moving water, that don't need oxygenated water especially. But if you want to have your normal tropical fish, like for a community style tank, or you want to breed something that's a community style fish, then just figure out how you want to do your hang off the back filter or your sponge filter or whatever it is you want to do. But honestly, there isn't any one that I think is better than another. It's so individual to whatever you need to work for your space. I love seeing 2.5 gallon little mini tanks for the spawning chamber, and then like 40-gallon breeder or grow out tanks, or the 50-gallon low boys, or people just using those square trays that hold like 30 gallons, but they're opaque. They're just plastic, and they're meant for like nursery like plants, like at Home Depot and stuff. They get delivered in them. So whatever is affordable, whatever you can get, it works well, honestly. Wine barrels, whatever. Due to genetic breeding in shrimp and color differences, should you breed color still or let color change on it? Oh, that's an interesting question. Cool videos from a cool guy. Due to genetic breeding in shrimp and color differences, should you breed for color still or let color change on its own if your goal is to have healthy shrimp? That's a really great question, in the sense that what's healthier for the species or the line is what's going to make a more robust shrimp. And I don't know for sure, honestly, but I would be willing to guess. There's a funny thing that happens in evolution, which is when you are so unfit for a population, you hit a tipping point, where you suddenly have to start gaining back some pros in your survival. So like, for instance, being a bright red shrimp is a terrible evolutionary plan. We have selectively bred bright red shrimp, bright blue shrimp, these bright colors that in nature, they stand out like a sore thumb. And that's why in the wild, shrimp are translucent with some texture and spots of color and whatever. Ironically, being tan, brown, off yellow, off green, being those colors requires pigments that are pure red, yellow, black, white, and iridophores that make the color blue. So ironically, to make these plain colors, you need some of the primary colors possible. So then what we're doing is we're selecting animals that already have those colors hiding in browns. Basically, if you took your paint set and mixed it all together. And then we're working backwards and selecting the genes that made them that way and getting rid of the other ones so that it's just the one pigment. But at a certain point, there's so many shrimp in a population, they're red, and a bird can see them, a fish can see them, you know, the babies are getting picked off. It's not good for their survival. Well, in the wild, if they continued to keep being made and they didn't go extinct, you know, they would actually have to, you know, come up with something like, oh, they get more females because the females see that they're flamboyant, right? And oh, they have to have access to better nutrition for that. So sometimes inadvertently, it can tell us that they have some hardier genes in a weird way, like guppies, shrimp, things that we've really inbred or selectively bred. We are not trying to breed them for health, but the sheer fact that like they have those colors and things means that like it would have weakened them so much. So here's another study that was interesting: was red pigment in fish. It is also a so let me think about how to unpack this. Lycopene, you've heard of that, right? There was a while where tomato and ketchup companies and things were pushing, oh, eat tomatoes, they've got lycopene. Have ketchup, it has lycopene. It's an antioxidant. It's this super healthy thing. Like you need more of it. Well, that is true. It is, sure. Same with astaxanthin. Same with carotenoid. All carotenoids. Lycopene is a carotenoid, and it's a class of compound that they eat and then they turn into pigment. But fish have an either or situation genetically where they found in guppies that they can use it for their immune function or their color, but not both. And that they basically pick a gene, not, you know, consciously, but evolutionarily, the males that are brighter red have a weaker immune system, whereas the males that are not as flamboyant and desired tend to live longer because they get less disease, so that it evens out at the end of the day. They both have an even chance of mating with the females. The flamboyant guys may die at 2 years old, whereas the other ones may live 4 years. And even though the flamboyant guy got to mate with 6 females, you know, in 1 year, because he's such a hot shot, and the other guy only got 1 or 2 each year, that time difference allows them to have the same footprint genetically, the same viableness, or the same fitness. And it's, you know, it only matters to the point where they reproduce. And then, you know, evolution doesn't matter beyond that, obviously. Like, you know, if they reproduce, check that, that's going to impact things. If it happens later in life than that, then it doesn't matter. So that, you know, I'm just mentioning that that's not applicable with the shrimp. But my point with the shrimp is that it may be so that maybe the shrimp that we've bred to be super bright and things, they may have some hidden traits that are like they're better tolerant to temperature swings because they've been in aquariums where people keep in a variety of temperatures. By now, like red cherry shrimp, Neocaridina shrimp, they've gotten really, really hardy, and I wouldn't worry about like breeding them for health. They're gonna last. But Caridina shrimp are still something that could use some hardiness. They're still a very tricky, you know, they're still a really tricky one because, you know, even though they've gotten easier to keep, they are still not, I wouldn't call them an easy pet. You need to like have the right minerals or the right KH, GH, TDS, all that kind of stuff. So I would say go ahead and breed for color. If suddenly you notice, oh, our shrimp don't live long, and that's like something you really want, you know, the thing is, they're probably going to reproduce fast enough that it won't matter. You won't notice which ones die and which ones live on. That's the sad reality of that. But yeah. Uh, oh, just half pale. Brush it up. Oh, cool. The Pleco that we were talking about earlier. And thank you, by the way, for that super chat, buddy. That was really kind of you. That's cool. Half pale. Yeah, I'd like to see the babies. That's interesting. I wonder if it's a chimera. Is it half pale down the center or down the torso? If it's down the center, like the spine, it might be a chimera where it has two different genetic animals in one, which is pretty cool. Okay. Oh, good night, Mick. Good to see you. Yeah. Also, Dory Bailey, welcome. It's good to see you. Bio folks, what's up? What are good nanofish that eats live blackworms? Baddis, bettas, corridoras, small corridoras, habrosis, pygmy, Histatus. Also, the panda cories can be pretty small. Sparkling gourami, any like scarlet baddis, chameleon baddis, blue baddis, tiger baddis, all those are great. And as I said, any of the bettas, any 78 species of bettas. Actually, there's like 94 now or something, but whatever. Yeah. Yeah, CPDs, pea puffers. Yeah, they all love it. Let's see here. Oh yeah, pygmy fish. That's another great one. I wish those were more in the hobby. I wish they would eat more food from the prepared side of the hobby. Peas or probiotic flakes for gut health. It's for my guppies. Some of them are seniors now, 2.5 years. So Great White, welcome and hello. I would say that peas or probiotics. Peas, the mushed center of peas is where it's at for that. So if you can get that mushed center, coat it with a little bit of garlic or a little bit of any of your favorite flake food or their favorite flake food, like turn that to dust and then mush it all up together. That's really helpful for getting that gut binding. If they've been eating all flake all day or all bloodworm for weeks or whatever, like that can really like stuff up their gut. Yeah, Charles Vaughn, hello. Hey, also Father Fish, hello, welcome. Good to see you, Lou. Good to see you. Pond puppies, hello. I'm just looking through here. I'm probably behind. Hold on. Alex, is there something I wish to achieve? The dream might be possible. I want to breed giant Neocaridina shrimp that we could eat like prawns. Do you believe this is possible? No. I think that some people are already trying to breed females as big as possible for show competition, and they get about 1.25 inches. Inch and a half at best. I've seen some monster ones, but that's about it. Have you ever experienced condensation forming under your tank, making it look like it's leaking? I have if the window's open or if the power went out, but that shouldn't happen unless it's really a big temperature difference and your humidity. If you're in maybe the tropics and the humidity is crazy high and your tank is cold, or it's cold in the air and your tank is hot. If there's a temperature difference of like 20 degrees Celsius or 40 or 50 degrees Fahrenheit, then that would be understandable to have like a lot of water, like enough like to make a little puddle or dripping every so often. But it shouldn't happen unless it's something like that. How do I feel about shallow water tanks? Love them. Fish 3, I've heard that oak leaves are not optimal for feeding scud cultures. Can you verify or debunk or explain? Hey, Monicog, hello. So I would say scuds actually like fish food a lot. They will eat any dead, rotting material and or creatures as well, pretty much. But I would say I've never heard anything about that. Now, oak leaves Are they suboptimal to salmon meal or to spirulina? Yeah, definitely. But are they suboptimal to like almond catappa leaves? I don't think there's that huge of a difference, probably. Usually, what scuds and other little organisms enjoy more than the actual, I mean, they enjoy the tannins in the water, but they enjoy the microbiome that creates. They enjoy the fungus, the bacteria, the archaea, the protease, all that kind of stuff that you don't really see. That's what they're enjoying, and they're getting literal. Like they've found in some plecos, they can get like 30% of their gut load can be from protein just from rasping on clearish, like slimy proteins. It's very wild. You know, simple amino acids also, simple compounds found in nature that are like in films of bacteria or films of fungi or you know, wood that has been rotting, not the wood itself but what's growing on it, you know. Fishcapades, what's up? Tiffany Clark, good to see you. Running Water, good to see you. Nancy B in Tennessee. All right, let's see here. Who else is in here? All right, we're getting. Let me move. Hey, new member, right on. Strong Style Synganics. Hello and welcome. Come on in. The water's all right. Several folks have used the restroom in it, but water's still pretty good. No, I think we're all good here. We're all adults. We know to go over to the neighbor's pond to relieve ourselves. Yes. So, Tiffany, I've never seen glass shrimp. Now, granted, there are a lot of species people call either grass or glass shrimp that are just native to wherever they are in the world. People will call them that if they're clear and under prawn size, you know. So there is something out there that's probably predatory, but most of the time, yeah, they're not going to be hunters of living stuff, especially smaller shrimp. But yeah, Strong Style, the community tab, there's whole playlists that you can listen to, extra 200 episodes, updates just on news and stuff. There's also some members only streams and things. We're trying to do more of that, especially on topics that they just always demonetize and kick out anyways. So might as well. And yeah, so in the community tab, in the posts tab, check out stuff you can access as a member. And thank you so much for supporting the channel. That's very appreciated. Hey, you again with the money again. Sent you some pics, mate. Oh, thank you. Has a lump on the picture. Okay, I'll check it out. Thank you very much, buddy. All right, let's see here. Divide by zero. Forrest Gallante is a piece of crap. I'm sorry. I used to like him, and I actually almost did an entire video on this. Every animal in his Animal Planet special and Discovery, depending on where you are in the world, National Geographic, Animal Planet, or Discovery. Forrest Gallante did 16 episodes of this like cryptozoology, extinct fish that are or animals that are do they exist? And he goes out and looks for them, like the Tasmanian devil or whatever. Every single case, he did not discover that info. It was known and published in the scientific community before he made the episode. So it's not new news to anybody who's scientifically inclined or cares. It's new news to the average viewer, and it might be even new news in that it hasn't been published yet, and he hired an expert in this or that, and they went on the thing. But he has not done any of the work himself. I mean, he doesn't necessarily claim to, but he pretends like he's a swashbuckling guy that goes around and discovers, oh, this thing's really still alive, and I found it on a weekend with the camera crew in tow. No, he pays the locals to catch it. And then a lot of times he's actually staying in a big city and he pays them to come bring the animals to him. There's footage of that. Other people have filmed it and been like, oh, look at, there's this funny white guy in Papua New Guinea, and he won't leave Port Moresby, you know, like, well, I wouldn't either, but anyways. So yeah, it's unfortunate. I love that he gives attention to these things, but he is becoming kind of a celebrity, not in the sense of like championing preservation and all these things. He's getting a little bit clickbaity, and maybe that's just how the world has to be, and he's like the only science communicator that's effectively doing it, other than like Coyote Peterson, who's another like YouTuber. He's got like whatever 6 or 8 million viewers on his different platforms, but a lot of it's like, watch me get stung by this thing, watch me get bit by this thing, and I'm like, okay with that. Like, it's interesting for entertainment, but if you really want to know about science, then you want to follow the scientific articles and places like that, and you'll find it. But yes, I did see that there is a new snakehead that was thought to be extinct for 85 years. It's a beautiful snakehead for sure, and I do want to talk about it. You know, the other thing that he'll talk about is like cavefish. He's gonna say, "Oh, I got the first camera crew or the first this or that," and it's just not true. A lot of times he's the first English one, but a lot of times like it's been documented. So it's kind of interesting uh, how that goes. But anyhow, yeah, maybe I'll talk about that new Shauna that was thought to be extinct, because it's kind of interesting, and it's a beautiful fish. So it would make good television or good YouTube or whatever he's going to do. And he is charismatic. He's interesting, but again, I mean, growing up on a Zambian or Zimbabwe or Zambia, I think it was Zambia, uh, game farm as a white guy, probably lived a pretty weird, insulated life. I could see where maybe probably, he does love animals and stuff, but he also doesn't have a degree related to any one specialty or anything. So, not that I have an animal related degree or anything, but he does present himself as like a zoologist specializing in X, Y, or Z, and he's just a naturalist enthusiast, who's devoted a lot of his life to exploration, or not exploration, traveling and filming animals. Like, he hasn't done a lot. He hasn't published any papers. He hasn't documented anything useful to science, like anything new or in a way that they didn't already have it measured or accounted for. Um, so I'd consider him like a science communicator, which is better than nothing in a lot of ways, but it's worse if you're in the field. You probably are annoyed that someone that actually spent like their life work, doing taxonomy, is the one who calls it when they say that there's something new out there. And there's somebody who goes into the field and collects it. That's one person. Somebody who knew about it, a whole team of undergrads that probably was like, oh yeah, our professor brought in this thing that this guy came to the university with. And then we went out there and then we took notes on it. And then that was 2 years ago. And then now we've sent specimens, but they don't have time or funding to talk about them. But finally, 3 or 4 years from that, they publish a paper in Nature, and someone finally got the funding to explain it. And then meanwhile, Forrest comes in like in that year before publishing or a year after publishing, and comes in and he goes, I've discovered that they still exist, and kind of presents it in this way. And maybe I'm missing the point, and that's how we should get people excited about stuff. But there's something that's just a little bit insincere about it, and it makes me question other things like his motives, his funding, and that kind of stuff. But maybe I'm totally misjudging the situation. I've called it wrong before, and I will call it wrong again. Dory, you won't know if you have dragonfly nymph eggs in your tub until they're a problem, until they're big enough to do things. Yeah. and then they'll be big enough that you can pull them out, but it can take a while. Forrest is just a popularizer. Gary Lang may be a curmudgeon, but he goes out in the wild risking life and limb. Yeah, no, Alex, I totally agree. You know, literally, Forrest wouldn't even get off like the charter boat in some cases, a lot of places. Like, he has been notorious. There's videos out there, you can find them, where there's small channels that have made the videos, and I'm sure he's copyright struck everyone. But cameramen have been specifically frustrated with him, and guides. And I've also been messaged by people saying, hey, you should highlight this. Which I'm always skeptical of, because if you come to me with an agenda saying, hey, ruin this guy's day, ruin their name, then I'm going to be like, well, what happened? Secret nerd, move on. Yep. Let's see here. Oh, you know, if you, yeah, dragonfly larvae are not small once they're a problem. You know what I mean? They're noticeable. They look like monsters. Uh, yeah, kind of like plagiarism, running water. Totally exactly like plagiarism. Gary Lang is for sure a curmudgeon. And a lush. I'll say both those things. I bet he wouldn't even. I bet he wouldn't even fight me over either of those. Man, at the at the Aquatic Gardeners Association in Chicago, like 3 years ago, he was toasted when he gave this speech at dinner, and it was hilarious. I mean, it was a good speech and everything, but he was just toasted. And he had no filter of like, yeah, fuck that guy, like just straight up. So he has some opinions. Also, he was one that I agree with, where like CChem Flourish XL, it says, oh, it's got available carbon. Doesn't say it's liquid carbon, but everyone assumes that. And they've changed their packaging since then, even. But he was arguing, no, it turns into glutaraldehyde, which is an herbicide, a plant killing chemical, a life killing chemical. Once it hits water, it turns into a pesticide that is a known carcinogenic. And they're like, yeah, but our product hasn't touched water when it's in our container, so it's not technically glutaraldehyde. And he's like, yeah, but it's the same thing because you're telling people to put it in their tanks. So, you know, so he was calling them out on that at the conference as well, which I thought was funny. He's like, you should just write glutaraldehyde on the bottle. He's like, nobody knows what that means anyways, other than people who would care. Johnny Best, do copepods eat surface protein film? They do, slowly. Snails are better at that, honestly. They'll slurp up that slick on the top. Really, breaking up the surface tension is the best way to do it. But if you have a filterless tank or something, you can get both planaria. As much as everyone hates planaria, they will eat that protein film, and so will a lot of the little tiny little protozoas and stuff that you can't really see with your eye. Did you see the dude with 300 tanks and no filters? Are you talking about Lucas Bretz? I've toured his place. I know him. I mean, we're friends. We've known each other since I started YouTube. But and the dude that grows plants with no substrate. Yes, and I actually just put out my video on plants that'll grow with no substrate because of that. You can just feed the water column if you want, but you should be doing water changes if you do that. Don't do the no filter thing and the floating plant thing. That's a bad combo. And Lucas Bretz uses a rice fish to get the protein film up. Yeah, I mean, he uses a bunch of things. Flip Wavy says Alex is basically Luca LRB's father. I don't know about that. I love that it was quiet when I went into his room, and I think there's a great like I think that's cool if you enjoy that. I think there's quite a few fish that I keep without filters that he keeps without filters. I also think that there's a lot of fish in the hobby that deserve a filter. Like they're sluggish, they're not as pretty, they're not as active. Um, he has a good point though with his algae. Like fish live in algae in the wild, and they like algae. They like biofilms, protein films, algae. Um, the real difference is if the circulation and the oxygen is high enough that the fish are active and happy too. Um, what's a good no light, no filter plant? Well, all plants need light, decent light. The lowest of light, I mean, Anubias, Java fern, certain crypts. Although Anubias, Java fern, they're going to get algae quick if you have no filter, no moving water. They feed from the water. They also need nutrients in that water. You need to get your nitrates above 0. And I keep my nitrates at 0 because of studies showing that salmon and guppy and other organisms have birth defects and adverse reactions, such as the same stress reactions with cortisols at low levels of nitrites and nitrates. Now, if other fish would say get it up to 200, 300, 400 parts per million, not a problem. And it probably won't kill most fish. My opinion, at those levels, it's definitely been proven that it can stress fish. Now, if you slowly let those fish get to that level and your tank's just never being water changed and they're just living in that gnarliness, they can survive pretty tough. A lot of species will do really good. Luca, I don't know Luca. Luca is top 3 fish tuber revolutionary. I don't know which one you're talking about, Luca. You mean Lucas, or are you talking about someone named Luca? Yeah, LRB for sure. Saving on those electric bills. He's in Florida, so he doesn't have to worry about the heat stuff, which is great. Yeah, pretty cool. And honestly, I think the best method for most people at the end of the day, if you don't want to deal with a lot of problems, is some sort of either sponge filter or hang on the back or canister in a community tank that's well planted with a good substrate and a good light. And I don't think you even need to do water changes. I think you can just do water top offs. But if you do water changes, you are going to get less algae and less unsightly stuff. And a lot of people just don't like that at the end of the day. They don't want that. They don't want to have to scrape the glass. And if you keep all your nitrates low and your nutrient level, your nitrates, your phosphates, your manganese, magnesium, potassium, none of that's like crazy higher than others, you're gonna have a tank that does just fine. And I usually keep my nitrates very low, also because then if ammonia spikes or something, there's a little bit more wiggle room for the plants to suck that up and stuff like that. How to make 1,000 thousands of guppy fast? Start with, I don't know, 10 females and a male. Just put a sponge. Just put a sponge. It won't kill you. Okay. Bring life to the aquarium. In spring, I bring decorative oleum blooms, and the fish eat off. Oh, nice. Interesting. That's cool, Tiffany. I'm going to share that on the screen so folks can see it. Yeah, people should just do whatever they want that's easiest for them. If you want a crystal clean tank that looks spotless, no algae, just gravel back. But if you want the plants that are real and stuff, get good quality substrate. Use fluval stratum and some root tabs, or ADA Amazonia is probably even better. Contra soil, something like that. Let it fully cycle. Plant the hell out of it. Keep water moving a little bit of biological filter, and then the rest of your tank will also be truly the filter too. So, yeah. And then just don't overstock it with giant fish. If you're doing monster fish, you need to do differently than if you're just doing nano fish, community fish, angel fish here and there. But like maybe that is your biggest thing, or Oscars or something. Now, when you get into fish that are, chunky and they go to the bathroom big time, that's when really you should have some serious filtration, in my opinion. Will assassin snails take out nearite snails? Yes, they can, depending on the nearite and the thickness of their shell. Johnny, thank you, buddy. Learning something new is so electrifying. Thank you. Well, I'm glad something went off in your synapses. It's always fun, right? What about play sand? Do you use that tan or brown? Because all of them seem to be gray. Yeah. Fedincio, is that Fedincio or Fendincio? I don't want to say your name wrong, but in any case, I get pool filter sand that is kind of like a blonde. It's the color of my countertop, kind of this blonde, tan, beige, yellowy color, straw colored. And THT is the brand that I like in the US. I don't know what is available if you're not in the US and you're listening, but I like pool filter sand, nothing in it, nothing treating it. Other people like black diamond or blasting sand, or like smoothing, like sanding sand for air blasting. But it is made out of coal tar, and I wonder sometimes how clean they keep it, because it's kind of a byproduct product, if that makes sense. They come from coal mines and things. So I don't know if it's kind of like just trusting that they're digging stuff up at a gravel quarry and that it's all good. And the gravel quarry's goal is to excavate a site, not to make gravel, if that makes any sense. Whereas like a coal mine is mining for the coal, and the dust and the debris that comes out, they're not particular with. So the fact that they sell that off, I just think you find weird things in black, what's it called? The black sand stuff sometimes. Hygrophila sunset needs more love. I've been amazed at how, yes, Hygrophila sunset in my tanks, that is one that is considered a invasive weed in a lot of places, but I think it's awesome, super easy to grow, super beautiful, easy to get to do colors, especially the variegated versions. I love it. Yep. There you go, Johnny. Lapis Luster 0-30 is the best sand. It's what Corey used to run in his fish rooms. T. Whoop. Dang it. What did I just do? I just clicked something and I didn't. I think I hid your comment or something. I'm sorry. I did not mean to do that. I didn't even know it would let. Oh, wait. No, never mind. Here we go. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, that's a fine sand too. It's a little more expensive. I can't afford it. People keep telling me put cat litter in my aquarium. Just can't remember. Dad, don't put cat litter in your aquarium unless you know what you're doing and you're excited and you've read about it. Because what you're really doing is you're hopefully getting the right kind, the organic kind that's at Walmart, or at least it was as of 2 years ago. I think it was a red bag back then. It said organic, diatomaceous earth, and it's basically just clay. It's just like a diatomaceous clay, and it will suck up ammonia and hold it for the plants, so that when they grow down into it, they can then draw from it like a battery somewhat. That's probably the easiest way to describe it simply, but yes. And the other thing is, like, I wouldn't pool filters are expensive, so they are careful with how clean pool filter sand is. Yeah, totally. I agree, Barbara. I mean, some people use play sand and stuff. You can use it. It's just about how dusty it is, how much it's going to clog up your filter floss, and you have to change it and rinse it out over and over, whatever. But yeah. local park and take it from a playground. Hey, I've used it from the beach at the ocean in Washington. That's my favorite sand. It's so fine, and it has these little sparkles in it, like of mica and schist and what do you call it? Iron pyrite. Love it. Love it. Yeah, that clay, the cat litter, it's for doing a specific anoxic or deep substrate style tank. And so don't just put it in your tank for like an inch or two of sand or substrate. It's not, I mean, you could, but it's not ideal for that. It's kind of dusty, and it has some properties that may throw off your expected test results if you're cycling it and you're brand new or you're newish. Definitely do your research if you're going to use safety zorb or cat litter or diatomaceous earth or Fuller's earth or any of those kind of like alternative things. Nothing wrong with them. They're awesome if you're using them right, but I'm just saying, like, definitely do your research because there is a difference. So yeah. Hey, where is the cat? I know. I'm really worried when it gets quiet. I'm like, where did it go? Let's see. Where is the cat? I don't know. Hold on 1 second. Now, I am worried. Where is she? I don't trust the duck that we haven't heard or seen. Where are you? I have no idea where the cat is. That's bizarre. Is she in the? You're in the bathroom, pretty. Oh, well, now. You under here? Make sure you're okay. Hop under the couch, you silly. You're gonna step on your babe. All right, guys. So the cat disappeared, and we have a very tiny house. I mean, with the bedroom doors closed. Yeah, I know. I should have used my crutch. You guys are right. With the door closed to the bedroom, there's nowhere the cat could really be. So I was like, where did she go? She was sleeping under a blanket under the couch, like where I could have stepped on her terribly if I didn't realize that that's a spot she goes. But she was wrapped up in a little blanket with half of her body under the couch and her head out from the couch where it would have gotten kicked if anybody sat on the couch accidentally. Yeah, those paws were in the litter box. Fam, how they taste? They taste delicious. I trust her. She says she cleans after. Your cat is sleeping on your lap, so you can't go anywhere tonight. I know that one for sure. I don't want to do anything when this little angel's sleeping comfortably. I don't like to bug her unless she's sleeping in a really dumb spot where I'm gonna step on her and trip over her with my crutch accidentally. That's a cat. That's how our cats are supposed to behave. No human contact. Your cat looks clean. She's pretty clean. She cleans herself a good amount. She's not the best though. My cat's breath smells like cat food. Oh, I pet the pokey kitty. So anyways, you guys, on that note, I think I'm gonna see if my wife needs tea or maybe try to force feed her some soup. And I think I'm gonna, yeah, my Wookie. And I think I'm gonna play with the kitty a little bit with her little toy because if she's sleeping now, that means I'm not sleeping later. Uh, so yeah. Question to Alex: what if I see a couple Bryozoa colonies in my father fish 9-gallon filter list? Very little info about them. I've read it indicates they're Bryozoan usually means pristine water quality. I would be surprised. Are you living in an alpine area by any chance, or like Denver, or somewhere that gets water from like mountain or glacier fed sources? We've had them here in Seattle turn up. I've seen them in Portland. I've seen them in like Nevada areas where they get it from the Sierra Nevadas. I've also seen, yeah, Denver, Montana. I'm trying to think where I've seen sponge and bryozoans because I've also had freshwater sponges just show up in my tap water. And the spores can survive the chlorination, especially if it's not too strong. But yeah, I have a whole thing where I had Bob the Blob. It was what I called it before I knew what it was. And then it was a sponge colony that lived in my tanks for like 4 years. And sometimes it would get like this big and on the glass, and it would look like a fractal, and there'd be like a couple of them on different surfaces. And it actually felt like a bathtub sponge, like this thick. And then it would kind of die off and move, and kind of like a time lapse of it over the years would have been really cool. But I just let it chill there, and it was a part of the channel for years. We'd check in on it. But yeah, very cool. The Bryozoan, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I just let it chill. And the freshwater sponges are basically, they're just filter feeders. They're just in good quality water. They can't withstand any pollution. They don't really like ammonia. And yeah, running water. Good night. Quick question: how did you go from rock hounding to fish tanks? Yeah, I've had fish since I was a little kid. I've bred guppies since I was 12 or 13, like for money. Purple lace guppies and purple snakeskin were like the new thing, I guess, almost 30 years ago, 25 to 30 years ago, when I was a kid and I first got into it. Then in high school, kind of got away from it, got into social stuff, like, being social with people more. And it wasn't cool to talk about fish stuff. So I was kind of into more music and art and bands and stuff. And then in college, I got another fish tank, and I had a pet rat and a snake. And then for a while, I moved back home. My mom had a brain aneurysm, and so I kind of like moved back to be close to her while she recovered and learned to like eat and use her left side again. And during that time, I got an aquarium again, and that was 15 years ago. And then I didn't have one for a year or two, and then I met my wife, and then we got one because she was feeling kind of bummed out with how dark it gets in Seattle in the winter. And so we were looking into those lights, and we found that it was cheaper just to buy a decent aquarium light that came with the kit at the time locally. And then that got me into the nature aquariums, and I took on an apprenticeship and I just showed up just every day just to annoy the guy, asking questions, offering to help, until he hired me basically at Aquarium Zen. And that was 10 years ago now, almost. So I guess 9 years ago. But yeah, and then the channel started, and no, I was in geology is a hobby, but you need to do a lot of geology to become an archaeology major. I guess you don't. I don't know if you have to, but pretty much you do. You need to know like what makes dirt, how it's made, like why your bodies are there, and unless you're doing like contemporary forensic anthropology and like CSI type stuff or whatever, then yeah. But no, I got a history and anthropology undergrad. Then I finished my thesis for the archaeology / anthropology stuff before I even got my master's. And then I didn't even finish up my advanced degree. Never got a PhD. And I've thought about going back and getting like a teaching master's or a PhD combo type thing. When I give up on YouTube, when it finally wears me into the ground, then I'll probably go back to teaching, so I can just be assured that I can never pay off my medical bills. Working for Steve always did sound like quite the experience. Oh yeah. Wait, T, who is that? Who is this T person? Now I know you're somebody who knows me as a deep dive or a deep cut rather. Now I'm curious who this magical T is. Oh, did we meet tonight? Anyways, you guys, I am gonna get out of here and yep, we did. All right, awesome, cool. Anyways, I hope we all have excellent evenings. I need to put my foot up. I don't know. I wish I could do something for my wife. She just sounds miserable and I can't make her better. I can probably get sick with whatever she has next, and then maybe she'll feel better when I feel terrible and she feels better. That's all I can hope for. All right, you guys, well, take care. Have a wonderful night. Thank you. Thank you, super chatters. Thank you, chatters. Sorry I was late to the game tonight. It's my fault. My bad. But I'll be around Tuesday, if not again. And yes, eucalyptus oil is the missing ingredient for sure. I'll have to add that. Thank you. Ghost Singer, one of my songs. I don't want to I didn't want to. This is not a euthanasia attempt. I'm not trying to get her in that much trouble and drive her that far. But yeah. Sweet Lara wife, bum bum bum. She's probably like, shut up, your voice is so grating. Anyways, guys, everybody's saying they hope you get better, sweetie. Everyone says, tell Lara we want her to get better. Tell Lara we love you. Tussin, Russian Tussin. I bet Russian Tussin is real strong. All right, you guys. Anyways, I'm gonna get out of here. Find out where that stinky. Oh, you know where the cat is? Jeez. Cat. Oh, look who's on top of the aquarium with the light off. The cat. Sumi, what are you doing? Come here. What are you doing? You're not supposed to be there. Come on. Come over here. You're a bad kitty. Come on. I really shouldn't give you treats for being, yeah, yummy algae water and fish poop, and she actually loves here. She actually loves flake food and spirulina. She eats the spirulina tabs like it's going out of style. She'll chew through the bag, the foil bag, the Hikari ones, and eat the whole thing. And it didn't even make her sick. So, yeah. Anyways, guys, Mulm would be an excellent name for a metal band. I agree. Anyways, guys, we will talk to you later. Kitty and I are going to go see if my wife's in need of anything that we can do. All right, take care, guys. Much love.